WASD20 has been in free fall, and I've been getting a lot of "where have you been" sorts of comments this past year or so. It's clear that my channel is not exactly in a healthy state, but I think I might still have a little fight left in me. You see, a few weeks ago, Guy of How to Be a Great GM announced his YouTube channel was done. A legend is throwing in the towel. Now, he largely blamed YouTube for killing his channel, and this led to some really good responses from some other channels, including DM Lair and Black Lodge Games, explaining that YouTube does not push channels aside or kill channels, we as the creators do. And I agree with that. All due respect to Guy, I think he vastly undersells the power we as creators have in our own destiny. So I thought it might be a good time for me to share my input on what has happened here at WASD20, as it looks like the channel is dying. A little behind the scenes into the life of a somewhat washed up content creator, and in the process, some insight into what actually kills a YouTube channel. Along the way, I will be sharing actual dollar figures, which I know in the US is like a little awkward. We don't talk about how much money we make. That's personal. Oh well, I think it can be valuable for viewers to understand what it's like for creators. And I'll be getting pretty personal in some other ways here too. Some of the missteps, some of the hard things. Let's do it. Hey, quick note from editor Nate here before we get going. When we're talking about channels dying or being killed, it is incredibly rare for a channel just to disappear from YouTube, whether the creator or YouTube deletes the channel. What I'm talking about is channels that stop posting or just kind of slowly fade into obscurity over time. And even when that happens, there are countless examples of channels that redefine themselves and come back even stronger than before. I started WASD20 in the spring of 2014, so it's now been almost 11 years. I started my channel at the right time, just a few months before the release of D&D 5e. Now, this was not intentional on my part. I knew nothing about RPGs at the time and was just documenting myself figuring it all out. I was excited about this new hobby I'd found, and I wanted to talk about it. Literally, my first RPG video was me opening up the Pathfinder beginner box and fumbling through the contents. Then I started to make tutorials about things I had figured out, and I got some things wrong occasionally, but yeah, 5e was new and hot, and I rode that wave with videos that were mostly tutorials aimed at newcomers, and the channel grew pretty steadily. Explaining things was kind of in my wheelhouse because I'm a high school teacher, so I think that really served me well. Now, getting 30 to 50 views per video was pretty normal there that first year, and it was thanks to a Facebook group called the RPG Brigade that I even got those views. But things got better. After a year of making videos, I was making about $30 or $40 a month, and that felt pretty good because it meant I could buy an RPG book or a new game on Steam without taking away from my family's very tight budget. It was supporting my hobby. By the end of year 2, the income grew to a couple $100s a month, and it was actually starting to help pay the bills for my growing family. I started doing mapping videos, and those did pretty well, so I kept those going for a while. One of my mapping videos was my first real spike in views. This came in March of 2018, and it was on a map drawing series I had finished over a year prior. YouTube will do this sometimes, whether it's them altering the algorithm or experimenting with videos they think could do well with wider audiences, I don't really know. But I used to get these occasional surges on old videos just out of the blue. I went from never making more than $450 in a month to making over $1,200 in AdSense revenue in March of 2018. Now, I made a lot more as a teacher that month, but I was starting to see how this could be a living. I dreamed of fewer nights grading history projects and making lesson plans, and more nights hanging out with my family, playing games and cooking meals and going for walks. As the income continued to grow, however, I realized I actually liked teaching. I liked YouTube, I liked teaching, and I didn't want to stop doing either. Ultimately, however, I realized that a job where I mostly sat at home alone on a computer was not going to be enough for me. I liked going to work and being around people at least a couple of days a week. I didn't want to be a full-time content creator. In 2019, however, I was able to cut back on my teaching hours. I went down to about 80%, which meant one less class per semester. And that's pretty much where I've been since 2019. Just a bit less than full-time to give me more time for YouTube. It's helped a lot with my work-life balance, which I think is really important. In the years between 2015 and 2020, I really tried to put out one video per week. As a procrastinator, this usually meant me being up till 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. or not sleeping at all on a Thursday night so I could get a video out on Friday. And then getting up and teaching on Friday, by the way. When things were new, the adrenaline carried me because the work excited me. Making money on YouTube felt like magic. And I loved reading your comments, seeing the channel grow, and providing more comfort and ease for my family than we'd known before. We still lived pretty simply by American standards, but it no longer felt like we were scraping by. So for a couple of years, I plugged along at a nice clip and had some decent growth. But the growth did plateau to some extent. I could see it happening, and while I wouldn't say I completely knew how to change it, I do know of some choices that held me back in the growth department. One of them may have been how much variety my channel had. I often felt like my videos were not getting as many views as I expected for having so many subscribers. One possibility is that a lot of them subscribed for D&D tutorials, and now I'm reviewing some weird indie game. And these other people subscribed for map making videos, and now I'm painting miniatures. You get the idea. Branching out can be really smart. Branching out into map making, for example, was a very good thing. As long as these branches are related enough, we content creators can find new audiences or expand our audiences. And there are content creators with a lot of variety who are very successful, so maybe this is a red herring. It could just be the YouTube algorithm at work, knowing that my videos just aren't as engaging as others. Right now, the algorithm is such that it'll show you channels it thinks you'll watch based on your viewing habits and what's doing well in general on YouTube, more so than the channels you're subscribed to. That gives some hope to smaller creators. If you make content that does well with viewers, YouTube will show it to more people. Subscriber count doesn't really matter. But anyway, regarding the variety, maybe it hurt me, maybe it didn't. But I know that I had to do it because it's what kept things fun for me. And if it stopped being fun, I was out. Between my channel and my teaching job, I made enough money. I didn't need to go after what I knew would get views. I didn't need to make $150,000 a year. I live in a medium-sized city in the Midwest where the cost of living is relatively low. I've lived a middle-class life for over 40 years and I'm pretty content not being wealthy. So I followed my muse and it created a lot of variety and weird little tangents. It's always been a bit of a hodgepodge for me. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you and say I always did exactly what I wanted without any thought about what would do well on YouTube and make money. No, there's always been some give and take. We creators almost always balance what we want to do with what we think will do well. There are other things that held me back for sure, and I won't bore you with all my theories, but I will note that I think my lack of experience in gaming put me at a disadvantage over content creators who have been DMing for decades. While I feel good about my presentation and my ability to communicate, I think my lack of experience meant my content just wasn't always as good. Or maybe it wasn't lack of experience, I just don't connect as well with viewers as some other creators. I can be humble enough to admit that. Another big factor, I didn't always do a great job playing the thumbnail and title game. This is what gets clicks. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, Overview and Impressions isn't gonna do nearly as well as Has Ravenloft Gone Soft? With a thumbnail of me making a skeptical face. I don't know, maybe that's terrible too, but I had my moments. Your D&D combat is boring. That title got clicks and I think it was a pretty good video too. But anyway, that is an important part of the strategy for winning at YouTube, and I didn't always do it well. Getting back to the timeline of my channel, I am going to show you a timeline with videos released by year to give you a clear picture of the real reason my YouTube channel has fizzled out. It's pretty simple, but let's take a look at some data. Yeah, so some of you may have been screaming at your screens this whole time, Nate, it's no mystery why your channel is dying, you stopped posting. So yeah, there it is. That's how it usually works on YouTube. You gotta feed the monster. So what happened to me? Well, the initial decreases in content around 2018 and 19 came from an increase in the quality of my videos. The first few years, there were still a lot of quick videos filmed on my phone with very little editing. There was some vloggy stuff that just didn't have much substance. Early in 2018, however, I came around to the idea of more curated videos. I got better at editing and my standards got higher, so fewer videos. But then, enter 2020. I won't go into all the ways 2020 impacted me. We are all likely a little scarred from that experience. Like many of you, I drank too much and stared into the void. Still, there was some really good family time, watching movies, playing games, hanging around the backyard fire pit. I think all the time at home with family helped me put a lot of things into better perspective. In 2021, I turned 40 and I started working out, playing basketball, trying to spend more time with my family. I was finding a healthier balance for my life. and YouTube had to give a bit. And that wasn't very hard for me because the initial magic of making money and building something was wearing off. Another reason for the decrease in releases was a new venture. I started a live channel and I streamed a bi-weekly D&D game using Icewind Dale Rime of the Frostmaiden, just playing with some friends of mine. I think running a long campaign was really good for me. It was mostly fun, but at times it was a little stressful for sure, and it definitely took some time away from me making videos. The game lasted about a year and a half. We played 39 sessions, which is the longest campaign I've ever run, and we finished the campaign, which was a cool accomplishment. If you're interested in watching any of that, I'll put a link to the whole playlist right up there. All 117 hours of it. But yeah, running that game, I just had less gas in the tank for making videos. So all this explains why we saw a reduction in videos a few years ago, but what happened these last couple of years? Well, as I continued to feel less motivation for YouTube in general, additionally, at the end of 2022, my marriage fell apart and we decided to divorce. I know that some of you have been through this, or maybe you're going through it right now, and I'm sorry. It's incredibly hard. People say it will get better, and it does, but I know that in the moment, it's hard to see that. I just didn't have much energy for extra work, and my creativity was pretty much non-existent. I can't completely blame the divorce, though. My motivation was waning before that, too. For the record, I'm doing much better now. Through all of this, I've had a lot of support from friends and family, and I have a really good therapist as well. For well over a year now, I've been feeling really optimistic about my life. I'm trying to be a good dad, a good teacher. I've been doing a lot of soul searching, and I've been unsure about the place of WASD 20 in my future. I have seriously considered throwing in the towel, and you could argue that only putting out 4 videos in 2024 was pretty much throwing in the towel. There was kind of this odd curiosity to seeing what would happen if I just didn't post. And to be clear, my AdSense revenue, which is my channel's main source of income, went from averaging about $2,500 a month 3 years ago to about $800 a month right now. Honestly, I feel lucky to have any income rolling in after only posting 4 videos last year. But here we are at the start of 2025, and I actually feel a renewed energy around talking about RPGs on YouTube. I enjoyed working on some of the channel stuff this fall, and I'm going to be ramping things back up these next several months. So you'll be seeing more of me in 2025. I just don't see YouTube being quite as large a part of my life as it used to be. I'm not done by a long shot, but YouTube will likely be much more a thing I do on the side for enjoyment. It's sad to see channels like How to Be a Great GM throw in the towel, but I think ultimately he was trying to make a living in the content creation space, and his content just wasn't connecting with enough viewers to support his goals for income. There are no executives cruelly pushing channels aside, and there's no mysterious algorithm here. The algorithm is based on viewers choosing what to watch and how long to watch it. For me, it's been a weird feeling to have one of the fastest growing YouTube channels in this niche hobby at one point, feeling like you're near the top, and then seeing newer channels around 2019 like WebDM or Taking 20 popping up and eclipsing you in views and growth. And now those 2 channels are gone. And I get it. Very rarely do we get a goodbye video like How to Be a Great GM gave us. I'm grateful he did that, actually. Usually, the videos just stop and we're left wondering. And as a content creator, I don't wonder too much. At some point, the shine wears off and we don't find the juice worth the squeeze. But the future is bright on YouTube for RPG content creators. The success of channels like Matt Colville, Ginny D, and XP to Level 3 show us that you can make a good living in this space if you connect with viewers in the right way. And it's great to see that since I started fizzling out, Bob Worldbuilder, Dungeon Craft, and many others are making high quality content and seeing some really strong growth. There are RPG channels I've never even heard of getting way more views than I have these last couple years, and that's awesome. But it is a grind, and we all have a limited shelf life here on YouTube. When you've been around as long as I have. One last lesson regarding frequency. It matters, but it's not everything. Yes, posting only 4 videos last year was pretty bad for my channel, but I'm still making some money. I still have some old videos doing really well. That's risky though. YouTube is more likely to recommend the videos of channels that post regularly. Frequency is valuable. However, if your content is really good and it connects with viewers, that is more important. Matt Colville can not post a video for 3 months and still get tons of views on a new video because people like his content. On the other side of that coin, channels like Nerdarchy and to some extent Great GM can post quite regularly, but they just aren't getting the views they once were. Frequency matters, but it's not everything. Hey, Thank you to all of you who have watched my videos over the years and made this such an incredible ride. Being a YouTube content creator has changed my life for the better. In fact, it's changed my teaching career too. I think I learned how to speak better, be more engaging, and the skills I've learned doing YouTube, I now get to teach in the classroom. These last few years, I've transitioned from teaching history to teaching media arts like video production and graphic design. So yeah, it's really fun, and it never would have happened if I hadn't started content creation. Life has brought some really hard things, but overall, I feel really fortunate. I also want to thank the WASD 20 patrons for their support of my work, even during these lean times. It means a lot, patrons. If you want to gain access to a huge library of patron-exclusive videos, including somewhere around 100 map drawing streams, head on over to patreon.com/WASD20 and check it out. If you're interested in more videos on this topic, the Death of Guys channel has a lot of us reflecting on this line of work. I'll put a link to a few videos from other channels that I found had some good insights down in the description. Thanks for watching, take care everybody, and you will see me again very soon.